Well, recently I went back to watch WrestleMania 36, and I have to say, it isn't as bad as what people say it is. So, yeah, I get that the lack of fans is an issue for some people, and I get that. However, I I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt when rewatching this, and I rated every single match that has happened on that WrestleMania. And no, I'm not counting Big Show versus Drew McIntyre. That segment made no sense, and neither did the match. But before we even get to the actual card, what I mean by Big Show versus Drew made no sense was because Drew was getting an interview. Big Show brings out a referee, and in the beginning of the promo, he was talking about how Drew's going to have a target on his back and that he wasn't going to challenge Drew for the title that night or Money in the Bank. Drew said that he wasn't going to fight Big Show, but Big Show was goading him into a match. So, look, I can't cut them slack on that. That was absolutely confusing. But anyway, let's get to the actual WrestleMania card. So the kickoff show had Drew Gulak versus Cesaro on night one, which honestly bring back the kickoff show matches. Now it was a fun technical match, but I feel like it didn't get enough time. It was less than 5 minutes. If that match would have had, I don't know, maybe 3 to 6 more minutes, I think I would have given it a higher rating than I did. So I didn't take too many notes during some of these lower matches, but Cesaro just keeps impressing me with some of his moves and the way he can hit an uppercut from out of nowhere. It's just chef's kiss. And the commentary called one of his moves an airplane spin, but I saw some of the comments on the YouTube video since the Netflix version of WrestleMania 36 did not have the kickoff show matches. But yeah, the comments said that that move was called the UFO, the unidentified flying opponent. And he won off of that. Apparently, he did that move quite often in the Indies, which fair play. But yeah, I do like technical wrestling, but that's only when it's not like just headlocks for 5 minutes at a time and these slow paced matches. This was actually fast paced with good action. So I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Then we had Stephanie McMahon kick off the show talking about the global issue and how WWE wanted to entertain the fans, even though there weren't fans in attendance, but they wanted to entertain the fans at home during this horrible time in history. Then it showed a video package for past America the Beautiful performers throughout the history of WrestleMania. And I have to say, the cool and funny pirate themed WrestleMania video package, I love that. And I should mention that they had the same video for both nights, which I don't know why, but when I watched it the first time, I thought they were different. But anyway, I have no issues with that, especially when Legacy by Motionless in White was playing for that video. And that was so cool. All right, then Blinding Light, which was the official theme of WrestleMania 36. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time one of their themes was like, I know one of their songs was the official theme of WrestleMania. And then Rob Gronkowski was the guest host of WrestleMania, which did we really need him as the guest host? And they made it seem like Mojo was a co-host. And right here, I have it typed out. Gronk chopped Mojo. WTF is going on? Like they were trying to hype themselves up or something. Like it just felt more awkward than anything. All right, then Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Kabuki Warriors kicked off the main show of night one. And the pirate theme for WrestleMania really fit the Kabuki Warriors, even though they didn't have a special entrance. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, they absolutely have amazing chemistry as a tag team. But yeah, this was when I noticed that the lack of fans was slightly hard to ignore, but I never took that into account for any of my ratings. Because when I was watching this, I watched the main show of night one. Then afterwards, I watched the kickoff show match. But I watched all of that on Saturday. Yesterday, as I'm filming this, I watched Liv Morgan versus Natalia, then the entirety of the night two card. Then I tried watching Big Show versus Drew McIntyre, and that was just so bizarre. But anyway, WWE, I know you're not watching this, but let Nikki Cross wrestle again. She is underrated. Oh yeah, during the match, Kyrie Sane got really feisty, and I like seeing that side to her instead of like what they're currently doing with her. But yeah, the two teams together had great chemistry with each other. The Kabuki Warriors had control for most of the match, and I did mention, uh, like after Nikki Cross hit a swinging neck breaker on Asuka to go for the pin, Kyrie hit this beautiful insane elbow from the top rope onto Nikki, and my goodness, this match was fun. Then there was a twisted bliss onto Asuka as she tried to put Nikki in the Asuka lock. Like it all started off with uh them trying to get the lock in on Nikki Cross, but Nikki rolled onto her stomach, causing Asuka to be on top like that. Then Bliss comes from the top rope, twisted Bliss onto the back of Asuka, unintentionally crushing Nikki in the process. Nikki Cross was incredibly resilient in this match. And then after Alexa Bliss got the win by pinning Kairi Sane, commentary, who was JBL and Michael Cole for this match, they were praising Nikki Cross and saying that this was her best match at that point. Now, best main roster match of that point, absolutely, but best match of her career to that point, respectfully, no. I would say her last woman standing match against Asuka was her best match at that point. But yeah, well deserved praise for Nikki Cross. She does not get the screen time, the credit, or the respect that she deserves. And I gave that match a 3 out of 5. Kayla Braxton interviewed the Artist Collective, which I bet a majority of you forgot that's what Sami Zayn's little group was called when he was Intercontinental Champion. He was with Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura at that point. But yeah, Sami said that he'd outthink Daniel Bryan during the match. Shayna Baszler was seen warming up for her match later that night. And then we had King Corbin versus Elias. And I feel like this is one of the original cases of getting Def Rebelled. Because how can you add trumpets to Baron Corbin's I Bring the Darkness theme and think that it sounds good? Like it it was not good. And honestly, I didn't watch any of the build up to these Mania matches, so I don't know how things all got set up. But commentary was saying that Rob Gronkowski booked this match, like he made it official for WrestleMania. All right. But yeah, then they showed a video package of what happened like 8 days before this match, where Corbin treated Elias like Mufasa and the Lion King and caused him to fall off the balcony. Then Corbin had a short promo where he was bragging about beating Kurt Angle the year before and how he should win his match against Elias by forfeit because Elias wasn't cleared to compete. But Elias returned and broke the guitar over Corbin before the match even started. And also, let's talk about Baron Corbin's clothesline, where he gets whipped into the corner, but he slides underneath the rope. He goes around the ring post back into the ring and hits a clothesline on the opponent. That is a thing of beauty. And I don't think people talk about it enough. But yeah, Corbin and Elias worked really well together in this match. Except there was this one point where it kind of looked like Corbin was going for a deep six, but Elias like hit him with a clothesline before he could actually do it. So that kind of looked a little sloppy. But to be fair, I'm not a professional wrestler. If I tried doing something like that, I would do it much worse. But yeah, Elias hit something that looked like a crossroads, but the commentary team didn't really mention like what that move was called. But then Corbin eventually hit the deep six, which I love that move so much. Just not as much as the end of days. But yeah, Corbin tried using the ropes for leverage, and then Elias wins with the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling, the roll up. But yeah, that was a fun match, and I gave that a 3 out of 5, just like the previous match. Then there was the Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch hype promo, and I have to say, the way that they booked Shayna to bite the back of the neck of Becky was certainly a choice. Like, I know they wanted to make her seem vicious, but yet they didn't have her win. So it just seems weird now. But Becky Lynch had a customized 18 wheeler and it looked incredible. And I have a note here that says, I'm glad they've replaced the Raw and SmackDown titles, which, to be fair, I feel like everyone is glad about that because the Raw World titles, like for the men and the women, they look incredible. Their tag titles are alright, but then we go over to SmackDown. The tag titles are gorgeous, but the world titles, they're just the same thing as like their previous titles, just colored differently. Right, but anyway, Byron Saxton and Tom Phillips were on commentary for this, so it was Michael Cole and JBL for the SmackDown matches, or the inter-brand match for uh, Bliss and Cross versus Kabuki Warriors. And then Byron Saxton and Tom Phillips were the Raw commentary team. But yeah, throughout this match, like the punches and kicks sounded brutal. Like especially when oh like in the beginning of the match they just swung at each other and you could hear every impact. Like I know that's a thing like because of the lack of an audience. So there's a bit more of an echo throughout the building. But I think that really helped with this match. So like usually I would say a lack of a crowd kind of ruins matches. But here you could actually hear what the wrestlers are saying and you can actually hear the impact of some of these moves. Right. But yeah, Becky was rightfully violent. Like she was throwing Shayna into the steel steps or smashing her face off of the announce table. Like you could actually feel the storyline hatred through the television screen. And that just made them work well together. Then at some point in the match, Shayna was going for a chokehold, and she ended up dangling Becky like above the apron, like what Gunther did to Dragon Lee a couple of weeks ago on Raw. So yeah, that looked brutal. And at the very end of the match, there was a range of like reversals that they were doing to each other, and it just looked so smooth. However, back then I really thought Shayna should have won, and to this day I still think Shayna should have won. But I'm not going to let that affect my overall ranking of this match. I think that they had a great match and it deserved a 3.5 out of 5. Then up next, we have Sami Zayn defending the Intercontinental Championship against Daniel Bryan. So, back in 2020, like right after Elimination Chamber, I did a short video where I was celebrating Sami Zayn's Intercontinental Championship win because Sami Zayn is one of the reasons why I got my channel name. Like, if you look at the sign right there, or if you look right there on the title, you can absolutely tell that I am a Sami Zayn fan. I'm also a Kevin Owens fan, and also Joe Hendry fan, and John Cena. But anyway, before I get too far off topic, uh, I kind of forgot that Drew Gulak had a short alliance with Daniel Bryan. I think it was a fun alliance. But yeah, Sami Zayn was a fun heel as well. But the way he kept kind of like leaving the ring and trying to get in Daniel Bryan's head just got a little annoying for after a while. But yeah, there was a point in the match where Gulak took out both Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, and when Daniel Bryan was going for a dive through the ropes, he hit Sami Zayn, and it looked like he was about to go. Well, it looked like Daniel was about to go flying over the barricade. But yeah, a while later, Nakamura and Cesaro came back to take out Drew Gulak, but Daniel Bryan took them out after that. Then Daniel went for a top rope move. Sami Zayn hit a haluva kick from out of nowhere. And this is going to be painful for me to say. This match was not as good as I remembered or expected. Like, Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan are two incredible wrestlers. And if I remember correctly, they had better chemistry at WrestleMania 34 when they fought each other, but Daniel was with Shane and Sammy was with Kevin. But I don't remember. I haven't seen that match in a while. But yeah, this match kind of disappointed me. And the highest I could realistically go was 2.5 out of 5. So I'm sorry, Sami Zayn. I'm sorry, Daniel Bryan. But your 2020 WrestleMania match was not good. I would say it's average at best. Okay, and this is not part of the match card, but this is one of the little advertisements they did in between the matches. But WWE Community is kind of like their line of charities that they help out with. but I find it funny how they use the song "Sober Up" by AJR. Like, as soon as I heard the music, I was like, "Are they using Sober Up?" Especially when they're talking about helping out children. But they didn't actually use the word "sober up." But if you guys look for the, WWE community, uh, "Sober Up AJR" segment, you'll know what I mean. But I just think that it was weird that they chose that song. Alright, up next, the triple threat ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Kofi Kingston representing the New Day, Jimmy Uso representing the Usos, and John Morrison representing Miz and Morrison. And Jimmy Uso entered to the Usos tag team theme like they should be doing on TV these days. They're a tag team. Stop having them enter the Jey Usos theme. You can still yeet to the Usos theme. It's the same thing, just different lyrics. Also, I miss John Morrison. I know he's in either AEW or Ring of Honor. One of those two. But come on, this man could be like a top star in one of those companies. But the beginning was so fast paced, and I love that. And they were all three fighting on top of three separate ladders in the middle of the ring. John Morrison grabbing the shortest ladder, which was kind of funny. And then their chemistry was off the charts. It was so freaking incredible. Like, even after, like, the first minute or 2, I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is a gem." Oh, yeah, John Morrison is always so freaking impressive. Oh, yeah, there was a lot of high-flying spots. Kofi chucked a ladder at Jimmy when he was running on the barricade. There was a beautiful Spanish fly to Kofi Kingston from John Morrison, and then immediately after, Jimmy Uso hits an Uso splash onto John Morrison. Wait, Jimmy was climbing up the outside of a ladder uh, at one point, and then Kofi climbs up the inside of the ladder, takes Jimmy off, then he climbs around from the inside of the ladder to the outside, and then uh, at another point, Jimmy rams Kofi's face into a ladder. Like you could hear the echo and the thud. John Morrison did some kind of roll over a ladder, and then he kind of parkours over it again, but gets a super kick from Jimmy. Morrison dumps Jimmy off of the ladder and to the outside of the ring. Like commentary thought that Jimmy was injured, which that just made the match so much better because there was this factor of like, is Jimmy okay? But at the end of the match, they were all three fighting on top of the ladder. Jimmy and Kofi are trying to unhook the thing that hangs up the titles. But John is holding onto the titles. They both hit him with the headbutt. Then he As he falls back, he unstraps the titles and falls back onto a ladder to win the match. Like, this match was insane. This match does not get talked about enough. Like, I know people don't want to relive WrestleMania 36, but if I had to recommend one match from this show to watch, it's this ladder match. I gave it a 5 out of 5 for my rating. Okay, well, this is one of the matches that I would recommend to watch. Up next, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins with a great hype video. But yeah, I missed the Monday Night Messiah, but I just miss Sammy and not Sammy, Seth and Kevin in general. I wish them both a speedy and safe recovery, which Seth Rollins should be back soon. This is going like an hour before Elimination Chamber starts. So I have no idea if this is now out of date. But anyway, uh, Seth Rollins was really delusional during that hype video. Like, he kept saying that when the lights are brightest, I become a god, which I think that's funny because he's an atheist. At least he was at this point in time. I'm not sure if he still is anymore. But anyway, he ended up losing at WrestleMania 31 to Randy Orton. And he kept saying Kevin Owens suffered failure after failure at WrestleMania. But in Kevin's second WrestleMania, he defeated Chris Jericho for the United States Championship. So at that point in time, he's only failed to win the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 32, failed to beat Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 34, failed to get on the WrestleMania card for 35. So if you don't count that last one, he's only had two WrestleMania losses. So if you're going to call someone a failure, you might want to do your research. Mm. When Seth Rollins made his entrance, I was like, wait, he doesn't have the Messiah theme at this point? But no, I think he debuted that at Money in the Bank. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, Seth Rollins did the same kind of leaving the ring that Sami Zayn did earlier, but he actually got some offense in r- almost right away. And he only did that once. But yeah, they were both on the apron at one point, and Kevin Owens was going to go for a power bomb, but Seth reversed it, throwing him over his back, and and Kevin lands on the apron, which, if you haven't heard commentators state that a million times, it is the hardest part of the ring. But yeah, Kevin also got hit with a Falcon Arrow onto the apron. But yeah, no matter if you have Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens as opponents or a team, they are always so fun together. Oh, I accidentally scrolled too far. Okay, yeah, there we go. Kevin avoided a couple curb stomps, like in the ring, and he hit Seth with a DDT, which I never would have expected. Like just rolling out of the way of two curb stomps and getting up to hit a DDT would be so exciting, but it was. Then at one point, uh, I just have the word cannonball written, and I like when Kevin Owens hits the cannonball, it's such a great moment. Then Seth got hit with a senton from Kevin Owens. There was a great series of reversal after that. I forgot what Kevin was trying to do to get Seth on the top rope, but Seth goes for the eyes, flips over him to do a sunset flip powerbomb, but it's not your standard sunset flip powerbomb. He carried Kevin all the way to the other side of the ring to hit a buckle bomb, which honestly, best use of a sunset flip powerbomb. And then there was another point where Kevin reverses a curb stomp into a pop-up powerbomb, which I miss that move so much. After that, Seth gets himself disqualified, which means Kevin is now 1-0 at WrestleMania against Seth. But Kevin demands for the match to be restarted as no disqualifications. Seth accepts, but can we just stop using the insult of fat piece of crap in professional wrestling? That's just one of the dumbest insults you could do. Like, yeah, Kevin Owens is a bit on the bigger side, but sometimes he can move better than some of these super jacked guys. But other than that, this is honestly one of my favorite heel runs for Seth Rollins. And no matter who's using the chair and when they're smacking it on their opponent, it sounds much more brutal. Once again, one of the reasons why the lack of fans is a good thing. You can actually hear the chair shots echo throughout the building. But yeah, Kevin Owens uses the bell, which Seth Rollins used that to get disqualified, and Seth lands on the announcer's table. Then Kevin gets the idea to climb up the WrestleMania sign, and he jumps onto Seth Rollins. And you can tell that they are both hurting because of how well they are selling. Like like the art of selling seems to be lost in some people, but this was incredible. But yeah, Seth begs for Kevin to stop. Kevin hits a stunner and he wins. And I gave this match a 4 out of 5 stars. Like mainly from the storytelling aspect, the match itself. Like it was so good. All right, then we have the 24/7, 48/7, 7-Eleven, I-95 South North European Television Champion R-Truth interrupting Gronk and Mojo, asking to be remain hidden because people were after his 24/7 championship. Then all of a sudden, Gronk tries to take the title from Truth, only for Mojo to stop him and win the 24/7 championship. Then commentary was hyping up Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre for night 2. and Paul Heyman gets interviewed by Charlie Caruso, which is just the usual. Brock is unbeatable. Drew is not on his level. Yeah, it's just your standard Paul Heyman promo. And commentary hypes up Edge versus Orton in a last man standing match, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley, the SmackDown Women's Championship Fatal 5-Way Elimination match, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Theory, and then the Firefly Funhouse match, which I'll get more into the team of Garza and Theory when I get to night two. But yeah, Braun Strowman versus Goldberg happened. Yeah, that's all I really got to say about that match. But yeah, I don't think Goldberg should have ever have won the European, not the European Championship, the Universal Championship. Like he shouldn't have won it from Kevin in 2017, and he shouldn't have won it from the Fiend in 2020. But yeah, Braun won the match, but he should have won the title for the first time in 2017 when he was unstoppable. So I gave that match a point 0.5 out of 5. But yeah, they then announced that WrestleMania 37 was in Hollywood on March 28th of 2021. Imagine how different things would have been if WrestleMania 37 was in Hollywood instead of it being back in Tampa. Like, would Tampa actually get it a WrestleMania? Would it be 38 or 39? And what would this mean for Mania matches in these specific areas if they were different? If that makes sense. I don't know. I'm bad at explaining things. All right, Boneyard match time. But yeah, AJ Styles blamed Michelle McCool for Undertaker being a shell of his former self. But yeah, I love cinematic matches. Like they're a guilty pleasure for me. Like there's something about a wrestling match being more like a movie than an actual wrestling match. It just hits different. And for those of you who keep saying, "Oh, but wrestling's fake," hey, look at me. Shut up. Game of Thrones is not a documentary. Neither is Stranger Things or anything like that. They didn't actually happen in real life. So got it. Alright, but anyway, uh AJ Styles enters in a hearse while being in the casket, and The Undertaker enters on a motorcycle while blasting Now That We're Dead by Metallica. Great song choice, by the way. But Undertaker throws AJ against the casket and tries to impale him with something, but he ends up breaking the window of the hearse, cutting up his arm like right in here. Wait, Taker throws Styles through the windshield, and he beats him down on the roof of the hearse. Oh, excuse me. Then I have AJ Styles use sand attack. Undertaker's accuracy fell. I didn't know if I wanted to use that joke or pocket sand, but both jokes work here. Styles tries to throw Undertaker into a grave, but Undertaker punches him. When Styles falls into the grave, Undertaker gets interrupted by Gallows and Anderson, and just like SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, a bunch of druids show up behind him. Well, shows up behind Gallows and Anderson, and Undertaker fights them all off until Gallows and Anderson double teams him. I think it was Anderson who was going for a shovel shot, but Undertaker hits a big boot and just gets back into the match. He hits both of them with shovels, and AJ comes back with a tombstone to the back. Like he took a literal tombstone, like for a grave, and he smashed it on the Undertaker's back. Like I feel like I had to clarify since Undertaker's finisher is a tombstone. But yeah, Styles tackles the Undertaker through a wall. Styles trash talks him and gets the bird from the Undertaker. At some point, they make their way back to the grave, where AJ hits Undertaker with the shovel and breaks it off of his back, causing Undertaker to fall into the grave. AJ hops onto the tractor, and one of my favorite meme templates is born, where the Undertaker just appears after the light turns on behind AJ. AJ looks all confident while the Undertaker just stares him down. But the Undertaker regains control and AJ runs off. They get onto the roof. Undertaker sets off some fire to keep AJ from running away. Gallows and Anderson get involved, but Undertaker either throws them off the roof or hits them with a tombstone. Like he did both in the match, but one was to Gallows and the other was to Anderson. Uh, AJ ends up getting choke slammed off of the roof, which then leads to the Undertaker carrying AJ over to the grave. AJ tries to apologize. Undertaker grabs him by the throat and compliments him before letting him go. He turns away, but then turns back to kick AJ Sparta style into the grave and buries him alive. I gave the match a 4.5 out of 5. I feel less like if there was less trash talking and a bit more like action with parts of the scene, like the filming location, like if they would have done a bit more involving that place, I would have given it like a 5, but a 4.5 is not terrible. But then, yeah, a 4 out of 5, I know a 4.5 out of 5 is a great score. So there's nothing to be ashamed of for that. Then there was an emotional version of The Undertaker's theme before he summons Flames, his logo, and Metallica as he rides off into the night. So that means night one of WrestleMania got a 3.2 out of 5 combined. Like I took all of the scores of each match, added them up, divided by 9 since there were 9 matches on night one, counting the kickoff show, to get 3.2 out of 5. Then Natalia versus Liv Morgan kicks off night two. And I forgot that Liv had a different theme, but kept the same intro, just without the watch me part added. Like, I'm serious. If you go back to listen to Liv Morgan's old theme, it's gonna be like a little off to you. But anyway, I didn't have too many notes for this match. In fact, I think this is one of the matches where I had the least amount of notes. But yeah, Natalia carried the match, but Liv has absolutely improved since 2020. Like I find her character obnoxious, but she has definitely gotten better at the wrestling aspect of the job. But yeah, Liv won with a roll up, and they've both had better matches before this match they had against each other, but it wasn't bad. So I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. But yeah, it was the same thing like Stephanie kicking off the main show with the pirate intro, the blinding lights song playing. Then we got more Gronk. Then we kick it off with the Royal Rumble winner Charlotte Flair facing NXT Women's Champion Rhea Ripley, which this is one of the moments where it's kind of hard to tell, like if WWE considers the NXT titles world titles. Like they're very inconsistent with it. Like some moments, like they count the NXT titles as world titles. Other times they don't. Like make it like I can understand like not considering the Evolve title a world title, but since NXT is technically the third brand, but it's like a secondary brand, while the primary brands are Raw and SmackDown. I feel like this should be the point where they decide that NXT is a full fledged third brand, well, third primary brand, and their world titles are actually world titles. So that would give like Seth Rollins an extra world title. Samoa Joe would be like a three-time world champion in WWE. Uh, Finn Balor would have three world titles in WWE. Drew would have five. But yeah, NXT titles, like specifically the NXT Championship and the NXT Women's Championships, those should be world titles in my eyes. Like, Rhea Ripley's old theme was such a banger. It is definitely one that I kind of wish would come back, but her current theme is just too fitting. And also, the NXT Women's Championship had a black strap, and the only difference besides the word women's on it that made it distinguishable compared to the NXT Championship was that the letters were in silver instead of gold. I missed that title design. Like, yeah, I get that they want the women's titles to have the white straps, but I feel like it added more character, even though it was pretty much the same as the NXT Championship. Like, you could still tell the difference. You just gotta look at the colors of the NXT logo. Right. Anyway, there was an early riptide in this match where Like when I was watching this show for the very first time in 2020, I thought that Rhea was gonna win there, but no. But a majority of this match was Charlotte trash talking and targeting Rhea's knee. Rhea did good at selling the knee pain, but it wasn't perfect. Like she could have done some more work to make it look better. So I did have to kind of knock off some points there, even though she was technically a rookie in WWE. But yeah, there was a cool point in the match where there were several pin and submission reversals, like back to back to back. And if people want to complain about like Jay Uso's spears, this Charlotte Flair spear is probably one of the worst spears I've ever seen. And I'm being generous with the match result. Like, I still feel like Charlotte should not have won this match. And I'm not holding that against this match. It's just the fact that it was just like a typical boring Charlotte Flair match. Like, I will admit, I am not a Charlotte Flair fan. And it's not just because she takes everything from her father and changes things up a little bit. It's the fact that her matches aren't as good as people say they are. Like it's just the same formula of like a very slow pace, trash talking match. All right, then after yeah, I feel like 2.5 is very generous for this match. But yeah, then they played a recap of night one, and then we get Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley, and I will admit I was headbanging during Aleister Black's entrance. It is such a good theme. Well, yeah, this was the point in time where Bobby Lashley and Lana were kayfabe married. Like, and earlier when I brought up the fact that I didn't watch, I did not go back to rewatch any of the build up to this show, but this match felt random, but it was fun. Like Aleister Black is a striker, Bobby Lashley is a powerhouse. So it just it was just a great mix of styles. Like the first spear Bobby Lashley goes for, Aleister Black gets like the smoothest knee strike to the face. Like there was like a split second where it looked like the spear was going to hit, but he got his knee up quick enough to actually block it. And at another point, Bobby Lashley was going for the Dominator, I think is what it's called, where he puts his opponent over his shoulder and then kind of like slams him down. But yeah, Lana got up onto the apron, and my first instinct was get off the apron, Lana. Like he was yelling at Bobby to spear him. Like he actually set Alistair down. Like did this to Lana. Then he goes for the spear. And as Alistair gets up, Lashley runs for the spear. Then a quick black mass to Bobby Lashley from out of nowhere. And Like, honestly, this match was short, but it was fun. Like, their mix of styles was brilliant. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Like, if it was a longer match, I think it would have been ranked higher. And also, so if we look forward from WrestleMania 36, Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins got a title shot against Drew. He lost to Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley got a title shot at what show was it? Backlash. Aleister Black won at Mania. Dolph Ziggler got a shot at Extreme Rules. We'll get to the result of that match soon, like the match he had at Mania. And same thing with Randy Orton, who got a title shot at SummerSlam, plus that Night of Champions and Hell in a Cell. But we'll get to those matches. I just find it weird how those four were the ones who got pay per view matches against the WWE champion at back to back to back to back Mania, and not Manias, pay per views, when their match results didn't really showcase that they should have a title shot up next. But then again, there was time in between those pay per views to kind of change that. But anyway, Kayla Braxton interviewed Sasha Banks and SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley, which I always remembered this heel run as Bayley and Sasha being over the top obnoxious. But no, they weren't even obnoxious here. But yeah, there was a recap of Mojo Rawley winning the 24/7 championship. Charlie Caruso interviews Gronk saying he wants to win the title by the end of the tonight. Those were his exact words. Then they played a trailer for WWE 2K20, underrated wrestling game, and I will die on that hill. Then there was a hype video for Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, where the SmackDown hacker revealed that Sonya and Dolph Ziggler set up Otis to fail. And also, how was this Dolph only one-on-one WrestleMania match? Like, I am shocked by that. But yeah, also, I wish WWE would have capitalized on Otis being a single star a bit more. Like, yeah, he won Money in the Bank, but he did nothing with it. He just lost it to The Miz because of Tucker. But yeah, Dolph Ziggler tries to outmaneuver Otis, but early in the match he failed to do that. And Otis had a very good sell to a super kick from Dolph, where he falls out of the ring and lands on the floor. Like, it was really good. But yeah, and there was a good stretch of time where Otis had the advantage in the match, and Dolph Ziggler made Otis look like a star. I mean, Dolph Ziggler could sell water to a fish. That is how good he is. But yeah, there was also a point in the match where Dolph Ziggler was hitting Otis, and it looked like it was doing no damage to him, and he was just kind of like getting hype. Like, it was just funny. Alright, then Sonya interrupts the caterpillar, which is Otis's finishing move, and then Dolph Ziggler hits him in his heavy machinery. And that is when Mandy stops Sonya from getting involved even more. Mandy hits Dolph in his Zigglers. Otis goes for the caterpillar again and gets his happy ending. He wins the match, he wins the girl. Like, Otis is a ladies' man. Well deserved. But yeah, that match got a 3 out of 5 for me. Like, Dolph Ziggler and Otis worked really well together, which, like, in a tag team aesthetic, when they're facing each other, it's not that surprising, but when it's one on one, it kind of it kind of surprised me. All right, then up next we have Edge versus Orton in a last man standing match. Their video package was brilliant, and the fact that they included the greatest return in professional wrestling history, Edge's Royal Rumble return, it just made it feel even more emotional. And at some point during the show, they showcased the Edge WWE 24 uh, documentary. So that also kind of tugged at the heartstrings for this match. Also, in here, I have in all caps, on this day I see clearly. Mainly because I was just so hyped to hear Edge's theme. Because Metalingus is one of the best wrestling themes on the planet. And Randy Orton is absolutely slick when it comes to like outsmarting his opponents where he was disguised as a cameraman, he snuck into the ring and he hit an RKO on Edge. And then as Edge was struggling to get to his feet, the ref rings the bell, Edge tries to go for punches on Randy, then he hits a second RKO. And like I was talking about how good Dolph was selling, but Edge, he was selling this like he was out of it. Like he looked like he was elsewhere in his mind. But yeah, the use of the entire performance center for this match was a great touch. Like instead of just leaving it to the ring and ringside, they went to the gym area. They went to like a parking lot section. They went to some other backstage sections of it. But yeah, there was a very uncomfortable moment where Randy put Edge's head and arm through one of the straps of a workout equipment, and Edge was just kind of pulling himself down onto it. Like it just made me feel a little uncomfortable. Like it even made me uncomfortable back then. But yeah, there were some other moments involving workout equipment, but it was fun actually. Like Edge used some of the workout equipment to swing himself into either like a kick or a seated senton onto Randy. And there was a point where Randy had this one thing where you just push it around like on the ground, and I'm pretty sure it would usually have like weights on it. If someone knows what that is, please let me know. But yeah, he tried to plow into Edge with that, but Edge got out of the way just in time. But yeah, then they worked their way back to the ringside area, and they're on a platform in between like two little LED pillars that has the WrestleMania logo on it. And Edge gets thrown off of there, and he lands right onto the apron. And not the apron, the barricade. But yeah, this match was absolutely brutal, and it deserved to be so. And then they fight their way into like the back hallway and into like the conference room with a steel table. They actually use that steel table, oh, excuse me, quite often. Even to the point where Randy is lying on the table, Edge is also up there. He climbs onto this small cage thing that's like right above the table, and then he drops down, hits an elbow drop onto Randy. Like, I would say it's like maybe this tall from like the table to the thing. I could be wrong. It's just how it looked on the TV. Alright, and then there was one point where Edge gets bounced off of a Hell in a Cell poster for 2016, I believe. And then he ends up bumping into a referee, knocking him down. And then you can tell, like, there's just a camera laying there showing, like, the empty hallway now because they went into a different room. And it just stayed there for, like, a few seconds. And I thought that was a great touch. But yeah, they fight their way through that back section. And Randy chucks chairs away from Edge so he can't use them, and he throws Edge into a stack of steel steps. And then there was a point where Randy was trying to cut Edge with his own boot. Well, with Randy's own boot. Like whatever. Edge threw like a small sandbag that keeps like tripods up or something. He threw that at Randy, and it looked like it almost hit him in the groin. But yeah, after that, Edge kind of looked like a man possessed, and he jumped off of a high platform to put Randy through a table. But they end up fighting on a pickup truck, and Orton hits a draping DDT onto the covered bed of it. Like, I knew how the match was going to end, but I was just worried about Edge's safety. Like, I felt like I was back in my old place, my old room, just watching this for the first time, just thinking, "Oh my god, is he okay?" But yeah, then we had Edge climb up onto a semi trailer, and they end up fighting up there for a while. Orton lines up a punt kick, but then he gets speared by Edge. Eventually, Edge goes for another spear. He gets hit with an RKO, and Randy gets down from the trailer after a bit, walks under a ladder, grabs two chairs, walks back under the ladder, then returns to the top of the trailer. Randy hits these loud sounding chair shots. Randy looks to get Edge into the position for the concerto, but Randy chokes him out and puts him in that situation. Edge tells the ref to stop effing counting. He gets emotional and hits Edge. No, he hits Randy with a concerto. He didn't hit himself. And then Randy could not get up by the count of 10. Now, I agree that this match was too long because it was pretty close to 37 minutes. If they trimmed out some parts of like filler, I feel like this would have been a much better match. But I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Like from the emotional investment that it had on me, it it definitely made the match great. But yeah, then we see Mojo getting chased by the 24/7 division. Gronk jumps off of that balcony and lands on everyone. He pins Mojo to win the 24/7 championship. And also, as we move on to the next match, how many stables or teams has Austin Theory been a part of? There was this group that I'm about to mention. Then there was The Way, A-Town Down Under, Seth Rollins, like heel faction in 2020, and then The Vision. That's 5 that I can remember. There might be more. But yeah, Austin Theory and Angel Garza were challenging for the Raw tag titles. I mean, it was originally going to be Andrade and Angel Garza, I think, but Andrade got injured, and he was United States champion at the time and not defending his title. Okay. And they were all managed by Zelina Vega at this point? What? But now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of weird how there was like no Rey Mysterio and some of these other big names that weren't on the Mania card. But yeah, uh, the Street Profits were defending the Raw tag titles. Uh, Street Profits worked well together all the time. Uh, Garza took a cheap shot on Dawkins. Theory and Garza worked pretty okay together. Montez does this one leap over the top rope and lands on uh, Theory and Dawkins. Then Angel does a moonsault off of the top rope onto everyone. And Angel Garza gets one of them back into the ring and hits like the springboard moonsault. And it was a thing of beauty. Why can't Garza get more screen time on WWE TV these days? He's doing more things in AAA than the main roster. But yeah, there was a From the Heavens onto Theory as he's pinning Dawkins. And then the Street Profits retain. But yeah, short match. It was slightly better than average. So I gave it a 2.75 out of 5. But yeah, then Theory and Garza, as well as Zelina, attacks the Street Profits, and then Bianca Belair saves Ford and Dawkins. And there was a point like after that where Bianca's kind of like celebrating that she stopped them all, and Montez was doing something where he was kind of like just being a mix of a goofball and extremely thankful for for saving them. But yeah, ladies, get yourself a man who will look at you like Montez does to Bianca. And then we have Titus O'Neil taking over as the host of WrestleMania. But yeah, Bailey defends her title next. I have quite a few notes to mention before the match actually started. But yeah, I forgot that Michael Cole always said it's boss time when Sasha's making her entrance. Kind of glad we don't have to hear that anymore. As big of a fan as I was of Sasha Banks. I also forgot that Lacey Evans was a face in 2020. Could have fooled me. Where is Tamina these days? I miss Naomi. And Bailey's heel work from late 2019 to early 2020 was great. Alright, now that I covered all those notes, uh, everyone tried to team up on Tamina, but they all failed at first. And there was a point early in the match where Sasha and Bailey tried to both pin Lacey Evans, but she ended up kicking out. Naomi and Lacey had a very fun alliance during this match. Then for a stretch of the match, Tamina had a dominant run. Uh, then we had a team bad stare down, which was Tamina, Naomi, and Sasha. But then after that, everyone just kept finisher spamming on Tamina. They all dogpiled her and eliminated her. Oh, yeah, I also mentioned that Sasha and Bailey have great chemistry, which is no surprise there. Uh, Bailey saves Sasha from Naomi's submission, but Naomi gets tapped out by Sasha Banks' statement. And there was a point where Bailey accidentally knees Sasha in the head after Lacey gets out of the way. Sasha confronted Bailey, but Sasha gets hit with a woman's right, and Bailey does nothing to save her. Then I would say this is probably some of Lacey Evans' best work. Like, he worked really well with Bailey here. Wait, Bailey tied Lacey's right hand to the tag rope and then just keeps beating her up in the corner until Lacey kicks her in the face. Once she gets unstuck, there's a point where she hits a moonsault onto Bailey, and like eh, yeah, she stands on the middle rope. She jumps and turns around in a 180 to land on the top rope, then immediately flips off of the top rope, and it's such a thing of beauty. But yeah, then Sasha gets involved again and screws over Lacey Evans so Bailey retains. This was a great match. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5. Like, yeah, it wasn't the greatest match for the women, like just in general. But I think it was the strongest women's match of the night. Well, of the weekend. Okay, this match I didn't really have too many notes for because it was one of those matches where I could not take my eyes off the screen. Man, this this match is so difficult to talk about. Like this is one of the other matches that I definitely recommend. It's the Firefly Funhouse match. Oh god, this hurts to talk about because John Cena's my favorite wrestler of all time, and Bray is definitely up there. Like the stories of what could have happened if John would have failed at his debut. He could have been fired. The fact that uh, uh, like the funny moments of the Saturday Night's main event segment where Bray introduces John and then John's just pumping iron like a madman. Then he's not able to swing his arms to hit. Then it switches to John Cena being the doctor of thugonomics, where his raps weren't hitting as hard as they were. Then I kind of lost it when Gray was talking about how John shouldn't be talking about chances, and also about how like WrestleMania 30 was his biggest failure, and John made the wrong choice to not hit him with the chair. Like he was talking about how the people wanted him. Then Cena ends up swinging the chair. Then we get the NWO segment where Cena then finally gets his hands on Bray, who then it transitions to him beating up Huskus, the Pig Boy's puppet, and the Fiend comes from behind, and then he beats Cena, finally giving Bray that moment. Alright. Oh, that match was tough to replay in WWE 2K24. It was tough to rewatch now. But yeah, that's a 5 out of 5. Alright. Then I pretty much just put down the formula for the Brock and McIntyre match after their promo package played. It was a Claymore out of nowhere, freeze suplexes in an F5, Drew kicking out at 1, Brock hitting two F5s in a row. Drew reverses the F5 and then hits a Claymore. Then he had two more Claymores to get the win. This was a much better version of Braun versus Goldberg. But I only gave it a 2 out of 5 because it was a short match and it was just a finisher fest. Oh my goodness. Ugh. But yeah, that is yeah, that's where I added up all of those totals, divided them by 9 since there were also 9 matches on this night. And I unintentionally made it 3.2 out of 5, just like night 1, which means night 2 and night 1 had a combined score of 6.4 out of 10. Was it the best WrestleMania? Far from it. Was it the worst Mania? Also far from it. Like, I get that the lack of fans in attendance made it difficult for people to watch it or even revisit it. But if you look past that, it was a great show. Like, yeah, some of the matches were random, some of the matches were a bit dull, but there were great things to experience from this show. Like the Boneyard match, that incredible ladder match that no one talks about, Drew winning his first world title, uh, that beautiful story between Cena and Bray. So I spent about like 6.5 hours over the weekend watching every moment from that WrestleMania. And I'm glad that I did because it just felt like a moment in time where the world was was all locked up and like WWE was doing their best to make us forget how bad the pandemic was. Like people lost their lives. I didn't get affected in that way because, well, I never caught that disease like in the 6 years since that happened. I've never lost anyone to it, but it was still a rough point in time for everyone. So I respect WWE for giving us a way to forget about that for just like 3 hours every night. Well, those 2 nights. So, yeah, I know that I'm not going to convince many people to actually go back and watch it, but if you do decide to go check out WrestleMania 30 again, try to tone out the fact that there's no fans. just focus on the matches, and I feel like the show will surprise you. But yeah, I'm thankful that WWE gave us a WrestleMania during 2020 because I was miserable that year, and wrestling and games were my two escapes from just how bad everything was in the world. But if you made it this far, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment any other video ideas you have for the future. If you want me to cover like other WrestleManias, please suggest some. And I will catch you in the next one.